The drama began in stormy seas just after midnight on December 22nd. 20-foot waves parted a towing cable between the 100-meter-long oil barge Nastuka and her tug, the Ocean Service. The Nastuka, with 11 million liters of bunker oil aboard, collided with the tug as a new line was attached, opening a 6-foot gash. About 750,000 liters of oil escaped through that hole. No one expected the spill off Washington State to reach Vancouver Island, but everyone was wrong. Please welcome the Tofino oil spill cleanup coordinator, Dave LeBlanc.
Dave, when we know the risk of these oil spills and we know how disastrous they can be, why do we seem so ill-prepared to do anything about them when they happen? Because the stories that come out after talk of confusion, goodwill on the part of volunteers and everybody who's taking part, but it seems as though it isn't a very well-organized cleanup brigade.
Yeah, that's right. I would think that most spills are different from each other, so all the planning that you can possibly coordinate would not necessarily apply to each spill as they occur.
There was some suggestion that some of these could be burned off. Is that a wild suggestion? Does it not work at all?
Burning will work in the very first few moments of the spill, but as you get into a few days, burning is right out of the question.
Can't do it?
No.
Why is that? Is it just too widespread?
It becomes widespread. A lot of the oil sinks, a lot of the oil becomes dispersed and broken up, and it also collects a lot of water. Into the second and third day of a spill, most of the contaminated debris will be about 70% water.
When they rescue animals and birds and try to clean them up, how hazardous an occupation is that? I've seen some of the otters. I don't think I'd like to be wrestling an otter, even if it was covered in oil.
It can be very treacherous. You have to be very careful about who you're working with and some of the equipment that you're using. It's a good idea to wear the proper protective equipment on your face and your hands as well, and it's not a very easy job to do.
I bet it's not.
I don't know if you know this, Dave, but for 2 days in Valdez, myself, a producer, a cameraman, and an editor went looking for you, and we couldn't find you. And the question that I was going to ask you then, I'll ask you now. When you first landed in Valdez and saw that much bigger oil spill there, what entered your mind? What were the comparisons between that and the one off Vancouver Island?
There really is no comparison. When you're dealing with crude oil over bunker sea oil, the area of dispersion is quite wide, so the same amount of oil would cover 10 times the distance with this particular type of oil in the Valdez spill.
And beyond the distance, what about the impact that the oil had in Prince William Sound compared to Tofino?
It was very profound in Prince William Sound. We got lucky on the west coast of Vancouver Island in this last incident. We had a few problems, and I'm sure that we don't know them all yet. But the problem with the Prince William Sound is it's a very, very large area, and the oil has penetrated throughout the entire water column and on the bottom as well.
Now, you know firsthand how difficult it is to clean up this oil. Exxon has said that in Valdez, they'll leave Prince William Sound as clean as it was before the spill. Do you think that's possible?
No, I don't think that's possible at all. Mother Nature is the only proper corrector of an oil spill.
Mm-hmm.
And how long does Mother Nature take?
In the cold waters of Alaska, it could take 25 years.
No, that's a frightening statistic. Knowing that, are they going to still continue to move oil by tankers, knowing that sooner or later there'll be another one? That's what everybody said when they first began this thing, and they've been proved right.
Yeah, I think the situation is that they would like the oil transportation to continue on the same rate it's going now. They also plan on developing the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge and also the Bristol Bay resources. So over the next 10 years, they anticipate on tripling tanker traffic up and down the coast.
Do you anticipate any tougher government legislation to try to prevent it seems to me to be inevitable?
Well, I think there's a lot of talk about it, but I think when it comes to the bottom line, as long as we're burning fuel the way that we are, they're going to continue to transport those amounts.
The original argument was between tankers taking oil down the coast and a pipeline taking the oil. The pipeline lost and the tankers won because the experts said that you could never have an oil spill. If they did have one, they had the means to clean it up. Turned out the experts, as always, are wrong, dead wrong. Is there any chance that could be a change of plan in the event of a Mackenzie Valley Pipeline, for instance?
It's possible, but I don't think that taking a pipeline overland is also the solution to the problem either. There were several problems with migration of animals and or the buckling of the permafrost and things like that, so it's just as difficult in the event of a spill.
Well, Dave, what do we do with these people? Here you've got the Exxon Valdez driven by a drunk. A guy whose license to drive was taken away in New Jersey, and they put him in charge of a tanker that's 3 times as long as a football field. What do you do with those people?
They're only a small part of the problem, really. What is not really known is that he was being watched. As some people would know, on the west coast of Vancouver Island and in Vancouver, there's a very well-operated vessel management traffic system. And nobody can seem to come up with where was the guy on the radar watching the Exxon Valdez, even though that he was 3 miles off of his course in a 10-mile stretch, and he also had crossed the northbound traffic lane as well, too, with no communication attempts to the tanker.
Why do you let a man with a proven drinking problem drive a boat like this?
You shouldn't, and it seems that Exxon knew of the problem.
Well, they obviously did.
Well, you just can't allow it to happen. I think that good screening of the crews that are operating those tankers is necessary, because you don't want to see something like this happen again.
Let's hope not.
Dave, who pays? Who pays for all of this? The fishermen who lose their crop, you know, the animal, the cost all the way down the line. Who pays?
We all pay for it ultimately, but right at the time that it happens, it would seem that the polluters aren't willing to put the money at it. In the case of the Exxon Valdez, there was a $200 million TAPS fund, and they are working off of that right now. So it's an unfortunate thing to say, but the price of crude went up $2 a barrel, and Exxon hadn't been putting any money at it, and they're of the attitude, which way to the next oil spill?
Well, Dave LeBlanc, we want to thank you not only for your own specific efforts as a spill cleanup coordinator, but also giving us an opportunity to express your concern and the concern of my friends over there on the panel, so that in the hopes that the government, who never seem to lead but follow, will do something positive about this. We're all horrified, but as you say, nothing ever happens. So thanks for airing this problem again. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
We'd also like to thank the contributor of our first story, Jeanette Hingst-Ashford of Canmore, Alberta. All right, let's move along to our next round. We'll meet our next challenger after you've seen the mystery headline.
Philip Rushton, a University of Western Ontario teacher, triggered a firestorm of controversy.